Joining me today is New Hampshire Representative Mario Ratzki. And Mario, you're not going to run again. And I think the citizens are either rejoicing or upset. Probably a majority are upset. Tell me a couple of things. Why did you run in the first place? When you look back. And then I really am interested in sort of advice you'd give to the candidates, regardless of the party, coming in and running for your seat, representing, in the 4 years you get to know the people of Andover and Salisbury and Danbury. So, representing that constituency.
Well, the reason why I ran in the first place was that I didn't like who my state representative was. I mean, not personally, of course, but politically.
The policies.
The policies that she followed was antithetical to mine. She was a free stater, extreme right, interested mostly in gun legislation, which I think is a big waste of time for everybody, because we have the Second Amendment. It's perfectly fine. Just stop fiddling with it all the time and stop bringing it as a. It's an issue that is used to separate the parties, and I find that counterproductive. But anyway, so I did not like her politics. I asked the local Democrats who they were going to run for this position, and they said, well, we don't really have anybody, which seems to be the problem now as well. So I said, well, if you don't have anybody, I'll do it. And I went to all the transfer stations. I started my campaign in June. Didn't have any opponents in the primary, obviously, and lo and behold, I won the election. And this was actually an election. It was the first election, I think that. I think it was the first election we had the new district, and so the new district was.
Yeah, that seems about right. Yeah.
Was then Andover, Danbury, and Salisbury, which she had not been elected in just those three towns before. I think at the time before that was also Loudon and Canterbury. I forget. It was a big district.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it turned out that Salisbury and Danbury tend to be a little more Republican than Democratic, and Andover is very Democratic. So I managed to kind of pull more or less even in Salisbury and Danbury. And then I got a couple of hundred votes extra in Andover, which put me over the top.
So, I mean, there's your blueprint if you're a Democrat.
That's it.
Reach out to the moderates in Salisbury and Danbury and hold strong. And I guess if you're a Republican, reach out to the moderates in Andover and hold strong in Danbury.
Yes.
What do you think are the issues, no matter who's there, that the voters of those three towns really care about the most?
What is bridges and highways? I mean, we had a big problem near the
Blackwater River.
Blackwater River, yeah, right where that big wood company is.
Okay, yep.
On Highway 4. That bridge was falling apart, and it was not to be fixed until God knows when. But I made a call to the DOT. Other people got involved as well, and we got the DOT to fix it so that logging trucks could go over it and everything. Otherwise, it would have been a 10-15 mile detour. Cost them a lot of money. So, people are interested in bridges and highways, of course, as well as, of course, municipal bridges and highways,
right.
Which they do get a matching grant from the state.
From the state.
But they still have to come up with the money,
They have to vote it in town meeting.
And they have to be voted on in town meeting. Yes.
I got about 30 seconds left.
Okay.
What's the one piece of legislation you either are proudest of or you wish you could go back and turn the clock and vote against? And I give you either one, either choice.
No. All the bills that I put in, I truly believed in. I put in some bills, originally in my first 2 years, I put in some bills for flood control monies that the state didn't pay the 18 towns that are on the flood control compact that we've signed with Massachusetts, Vermont, and Connecticut. That money was not coming in from Massachusetts, so I put in a bill to go after Massachusetts to get that money back. We did get $2 million out of that.
I remember covering that a couple of years ago.
Yeah. So that's a nice one for me. And some of that money went back to our towns, including Salisbury, which is on the list, and Franklin, which is next door.
I got to stop you there.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
And thank you for joining us for this edition of Capital Connections, your weekly access to politics and policy along the I-89 and I-91 corridors and how it impacts your life and our region. If you've got a comment or an idea for a future show, please send me an email. And more importantly, join us again at this same time next week for another edition of Capital Connections.